brought Sir Isaac Newton himself to grace us with his presence and knowledge of physics.
Thank you, Mr. Banks. Now, fourscore and wait, wrong person. Now, according to the Julian calendar, I was born on Christmas Day, 1642. But according to modern day calendars, I was born in January the 4th, in 1643. I keep my album because who wouldn't be born on Christmas Day? My name is Isaac Newton. Now, I was born in Woolsthorpe by Costerworth. Is that right? Woolsthorpe by Costerworth. I was born prematurely, and 3 months after my father's death, my mother said I could fit in a quart jug. Now, later in my life, my mother remarried to a Reverend Barnabas Smith and left me and with my maternal grandmother, old Marjorie. Loved her to death, and then after she had come back, after Barnabas died, I went to the King's School from the ages of 12 to 17, where my mother came back and tried to make me a farmer. I hated farming. I absolutely detested it. So I went back to school, and it is said in studies...
Mr. Banks?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you tell Tyler Winstead to come see me before he leaves today?
I will.
Oh, snap.
So sorry, Sir Isaac. It happens.
That's perfectly
The
fine.
face of
What
shame.
is that? Is that the voice of God? It could be.
I think they're calling you home.
I didn't know God
You got
was
a few
a
more. You got a few more minutes. So don't dock you to that.
Anyway, according to studies, it was said that to prove to an old high school bully, I became the top of my class. Well, it kind of was. He was very mean to me. Anyway, a professor from Cambridge University came and observed my performances as top of the class at King's College and said I had Asperger's. Can you blame me? So I went to Cambridge in 1659, and I was basically an average student, and upon leaving in 1765, the Great Plague broke out. So I went back to Woolsthorpe by Costerworth and studied. I studied a lot. In fact, that's where I came with my influence for calculus. And when I returned to Cambridge in 1667, I was a fellow. Not just a fellow because I'm of the male race, a fellow as in a member of the clergy. Because I had to be one in order to be a professor at Cambridge. But in order to be a fellow, I had to be ordained by the Trinity Church, and because I didn't believe in the Trinity, I could postpone it as much as I want because there was no certain date that I had to be ordained as a fellow. But it was a little hard when I was given the prestigious honor of the Lucasian of the mathematics department in Cambridge. I was the second one in that field. Yet again, I was able to avoid it as best I could because I don't believe in the Trinity. I did, then I just didn't. I don't know. Now, originally at Cambridge, the studies were taught in the same ways as Aristotle, but I tried to tweak it a little bit with my influences from Galileo, Copernicus, even some Kepler in there as well. As being a professor in the 70s, from 70 to 72, I taught optics, which is what you have just finished learning with the light. I was the one that taught that white light through a prism could be conducted into a rainbow of colors, Roy G. Biv, as you call it these days. Am I correct, Roy G. Biv? Yes. I also taught about lenses. I even made a telescope in the 70s and presented to the Royal Society. A good friend of mine, his name was Leibniz, and we helped develop infinitesimal calculus. He published his findings in 1684. I was thinking about it in 1693, but didn't do it until 1701, 02, around that era. And because I'm a member of the Royal Society, I made them accuse Leibniz of plagiarism, where I was given all the credit. And not to mention, body in motion tends to stay at motion, but a body at rest tends to stay at rest. That was in 1687 with my dear friend Edmund Halley. The stories of the apples are true. We were sitting drinking tea in an apple orchard, and all of a sudden an apple just fell vertically. And I asked myself, what makes the apple fall so vertically? It's where I spent years studying and researching it and developing my own work known as today Newton's 3 Laws of Motion. Very, very fun, very fun. And I also graduated in the same class as Mr. Banks. And is that really 4 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's only a brief synopsis of my story. You could look me up in Mr. Banks' book about me. It's very nice.
You have another 30 seconds if you need it.
I'm fine. I'm Isaac Newton, and I approve this message.